This is the Kayak Fishing Kansan, and I'd like to welcome everybody back to my journey. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of an upgrade on my SeaStream Angler 120 fishing kayak. I'm going to be installing the YakAttack Gridloc MightyMount XL medium duty accessory track. Now predominantly this is going to be used for mounting my GoPro camera on. Down the road I might decide to do something else or add something else to it, but for now this is what I'm going to use it for. Now the tools and materials that are laid out in front of you are what I use to install my Gridloc MightyMount XL accessory track. Now I installed this on the front of my kayak. I'm not saying this is the best method to do it, or I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but in my opinion this was the most secure way to install it on the front of my kayak. Now these are the items that I use for this particular installation. Now of course you're going to need your YakAttack accessory rod, and you're also going to need a cordless drill, 3/16 of an inch drill bit, 3/16 of an inch marine grade rivets, a handheld rivet gun, a tape measure, a Sharpie, and of course you're going to need marine grade silicone. First things first, you're going to want to find the general area that you're going to put it in. You probably want to take some measurements. I actually centered mine and then actually moved it over 1/4 inch off. Now I had some specific reasons why I did that, but everybody's a little bit different. Now obviously as you get closer towards the front of the kayak, the width of the kayak is going to decrease. Now you're going to want to find the starting point for the back of your accessory reel. Now for my particular project it was about 5 inches at the starting point of the back of the accessory reel. Then I did go ahead and mark off the center point for that. Then I took my accessory reel and then I placed it where I wanted it. And after that I took my black magic marker and I marked out the 6 holes that I have in my accessory reel. Now the next step, I actually drilled one hole so I could actually secure the accessory reel. Now this is where I kind of made a little bit of a mistake that I wished I wouldn't have done. I should have actually used double-sided sticky tape on the back of the accessory reel and then secured it where I wanted it and then drilled all 6 holes at once. One thing I'm going to really stress as well, if you mount anything onto your kayak that requires you drilling holes into it, make sure you use marine grade silicone. You want a perfect watertight seal and you don't want to skimp on that because that could be a costly mistake later. Now after I filled that first initial hole I drilled with marine grade silicone, I just went ahead and aligned up the accessory reel on top of that, and then I just popped a rivet in place so it kind of hold it there. Now after I popped that rivet down in that hole, I went ahead and got my rivet gun out. Now it should take about 3 or 4 squeezes and that rivet should be fastened down in place. Now after I had the initial rivet fastened in place, I went ahead and lined up the accessory reel with the holes that I had already marked. Now after aligning my accessory reel with my initial holes that I marked, I went ahead and drilled those out. Now I also want you to keep in mind as well, when you're drilling holes in your kayak, make sure you get it right the first time. If you have to measure twice, if you have to measure 4 times, go ahead and do that, because if you mess up, there's a good chance you're probably not going to be able to fix it, or you're not going to be able to go back and redo it again. I also wanted to let you guys know why I use rivets in that area. There is no access. I can't get my fingers in there. I can't get my hands in there. And a bolt and nut would be ideal. But in a lot of kayaks, there's areas that you have no access to. So I definitely would recommend rivets. Just make sure that you use marine grade silicone. Now after I drilled all the holes out, I went ahead and pushed the accessory reel off to the side. I went ahead and blew everything off, and I would recommend wiping everything down before you actually put silicone in the holes. Now here's where I made the big mistake. When I pushed the accessory reel off to the side to put silicone in all the holes, I realized I actually had to align that center space with the top right hand hole. Now, if I would have been thinking about this beforehand, I would have used a double-sided tape and I actually would have aligned everything together and I would have drilled all 6 holes at once. Now you guys are going to see here in a second, after I filled all those holes with silicone, I had to push that accessory reel back over those holes. Now when I did that, it drug some of the excess silicone, and this is why I say I should have drilled all those holes at first and then put the silicone in. That way I'm not dragging it all over the place, because quite frankly, silicone's a mess to clean up, and if you do let it set up a little bit, it's really hard to get off. Now, after I finished cleaning up my unnecessary mess, I went ahead and made sure that the accessory reel was aligned with all the holes that I had actually drilled and put silicone in. So after I did that, I went ahead and popped the rest of the rivets in place. Make sure you guys also, if you're going to put rivets in, make sure you use the proper sized drill bits for the proper sized rivets. You kind of want a little bit of a snug fit when you pop the rivets in initially. You don't want it to be really loose. And obviously, if it was too small, then you'd actually have to get a bigger drill bit. But you want to make sure your drill bit's actually the same size as your rivet, and it should have a little bit of tension when you put it in, and it should actually pop in place. You just don't want it really loose. At this point, we have our 5 remaining rivets popped in place. We got all the technical work out of the way. We got all the hard work out of the way. Now all we have to do is get a rivet gun out and just fasten the rest of the rivets in place. I'd also like to mention too, if you guys have any advice, tips, or tricks, or anything that you could teach me, please feel free to leave a comment. This is a learning process for me. I'm doing new things I've never done before along the way, and I really enjoy it. Now, I will say overall, this installation of this Gridloc MightyMount XL accessory reel went pretty well. I had one minor hiccup, but I was able to correct it. But I do think this product is very secured on the front end of my kayak and turned out very well. The only thing that I actually had to do after I fastened the remainder of the rivets down, there was a little excess silicone that actually seeped up through the holes and around the edges of the accessory reel, and I just had to wipe them off. Bottom line, the installation process for the YakAttack Gridloc MightyMount XL accessory reel went really well. We had a few hiccups along the way, we corrected them, but overall I'm really happy with the results and how things turned out. Now, I would recommend this product. It is good for small accessories or maybe medium duty accessories, but overall it's a good product. Again, if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. My mission is to blow this sport up. Kayak fishing is absolutely amazing. It's financially feasible, and it's feasible for you guys that don't want to buy boats and actually want to get out on the water. This is the Kayak Fishing Kansan. Farewell for now, and join me on my next journey.